Welcome back to the OP Podcast. I'm your host, Fono Vakalahi, and I am so excited to be back with you guys. For those of you who know me pretty closely, who have been following the podcast pretty closely, know that this is actually the first podcast that I've dropped since my mother's passing this past summer. So a few months ago, I did lose my mother, and I'm going to touch a little bit on that experience and what that was like for me, and just kind of how that altered the day-to-day routine for me and things that I've learned from that experience. And I'm also excited to share with you the message that I have prepared for you all today. That message is how to handle adversity, right? So before we get into that, like I mentioned, my mother did pass away a few months ago, and man, what an experience that was, right? Being able to sit there bedside with the rest of my siblings was a special moment. Being able to bond with my siblings during that time was a special moment for me, and I think we all grew a little bit closer from that experience. But thinking back specifically about that time, and being bedside, watching my mother's last breaths, being able to witness the inhale, the exhale, and to witness her final breaths of life. It definitely put things into perspective for me of, the importance of life. And it definitely helped me put things in the right order, right? And I think we all go through experiences in life, major tragedies in life, that can either make or break you, depending on how you approach it and how you prepare yourself for those types of situations, right? And my message today is how to handle adversity, right? And how to prepare yourself for adversity in order to be able to overcome that when they come. So there's not a single person in this life that will go through this life without any form of adversity, right? And honestly, I think it was all part of God's plan in order to help us to grow into who we were meant to be. To be able to gain that knowledge and wisdom, we have to go through some of these things, these challenges, these trials in life in order to teach us, right? But the difference to me, right, and the difference for me is if all we're doing is going through these trials and in life and just accepting them and not learning from them, I think we've missed the mark. I think there is where we missed the mark, right? So my message to you and what I guess my lesson that I wanted to share with you guys is just kind of some of the studying that I've done and want to share my thoughts on adversity and how to prepare and plan for adversity in order for you to be successful, in order for you to be able to continue moving forward in life through it all, right? So I've been reading quite a few books, and the books that I've been reading lately is by an author named Jim Rohn. If you haven't had an opportunity to listen or to read to any of Jim Rohn's materials, I would highly suggest you do that. If any of you have heard of Tony Robbins, Jim Rohn was actually one of Tony Robbins' first mentor, and so they have a lot of the same principles, a lot of the same concepts that they teach, and it's been quite a like rewarding and fulfilling experience for me to enlighten my knowledge and wisdom on these types of topics from Jim Rohn. He has a way of saying things that just make sense. He has a way of using stories and analogies that just really, really hits home for me. And, for me personally, I'm more of a visual learner. I'm more of a, hands-on learner, and, being able to hear those stories and compare those and hear those stories alongside of those lessons, it really just makes a lot of sense for me. And there is a chapter in this book where Jim Rohn talks about how to approach adversity like a pro compared to an amateur. And one key thing that he says is the key is not avoiding adversity, but recovering quickly, right? Not abiling adversity, but recovering quickly. Now, when I think about avoiding adversity, I think of myself because I've definitely been one to avoid adversity, especially after the passing of my father at a young age, right in my early teens. That experience of losing my dad caused me to avoid adversity because I was afraid of getting hurt. I was afraid of that feeling of disappointment, of hurt, of loss, right? And so when we go through those types of experiences, we tend to put up a wall, right? We tend to put up this wall to protect us from experiences like that, to protect us from feeling those types of ways, right? Like we put up this strong wall to keep us from having to go through any of those types of, it's our way of coping, right? To make sure that we don't feel that way again. But you have to understand, and one thing that I had to realize is that wall, that same wall that blocks out all those disappointments and sadness, right, are the same walls that block out all of those wonderful opportunities to learn and to grow, right? Let me say that again. That wall, right, this is something that I had to understand and realize is for so long, for many, many years, I had this wall up, right? And I know some of you may be able to relate to that, right? To this, this wall that I speak of, right? But what I said is that's that wall that we put up that we feel like is protecting us, that blocks out that helps to block out all the sadness, all the disappointment, is the same wall that will also block out all of the opportunities to learn, to grow, and to gain wisdom, right? And going back on Jim Rohn, the key is not avoiding adversity, but recovering quickly. So what I wanted to talk to you about and help you understand a little bit is the purpose of this adversity and the purpose of some of the challenges and trials that you're going to face in your life, and how to use that in order to help you gain wisdom. Right, to help you gain wisdom in order to propel you from where you are right now to where you can be, right? If we're not learning from our lessons, if we're not learning the lessons of life's tragedies, then we're not growing or maturing to gain knowledge, wisdom, and understanding to help us know how to really navigate this life, right? You always hear it's not about what happens to you. It's about how you respond to the things that happen to you. That's really going to make the difference. Okay. So share a little quote, another quote from that chapter that I read. And the quote is, life doesn't give you what you want. Life gives you what you deserve. Right. And again, like I said, he gives stories and analogies, right? He says, you don't reap a harvest because you need it. You reap a harvest because you deserve it. You planted in the spring. You planted in the spring and took care of it in the summer. Right. You planted it in the spring and you took care of it in the summer. Right. When things are easy, it's easy. Right. But who are you? And what are you doing when it gets hard? Are you willing to push through? Are you willing to put in that extra work in order to really reap the harvest when it's time to eat, right? So one thing, he goes on to tell a story about the sower and the reaper, right? It's a story that he pulls from the Bible, the story of the sower. He says, he talks about how he tells a story in a way, and he also compares it to life, right? He gives a story of this businessman, right, who had a great idea. this businessman who had a great idea, who set up this appointment to meet with the business partner to discuss his business ideas, right? And it was time for that meeting to happen. And, 5 minutes before, he's wondering, the guy never shows up. It comes time, the guy never shows up. 5 minutes later, 10 minutes pass, 30 minutes pass, an hour pass, and the guy didn't show up. So he ends up calling the guy and he says, "Hey, where are you for our meeting?" He's like, "Sorry. I was trying to make it, but then, something happened. So we're going to have to reschedule." Right. And then he says, the birds, right, are going to get some of that seed that you have. The birds are going to get some of the seed. Right. And he goes on to tell another story about how the same person, right, goes through another experience. Right. And something ends up happening. Right. He has a great idea. He's trying to do business, and something else happens along the way. Right. And he says he planted his seed. He ended up planting his seed in the thorn, in the ground. He planted his seed in the ground, and the seed started to grow, and some of the thorns from that plant ended up getting in the way and killing, right, that seed. But the moral of the story is he talks about how regardless of what happens in our lives, right, our goal, right, is to continue moving forward, is to learn from those mistakes, is learn from those experiences in life. And instead of blaming outer circumstances, instead of blaming the birds for eating the seed, and that's why the seed didn't grow, or blaming the thorns that didn't eat the seed, that killed the seed, and that's why the seed didn't grow. And he also talks about the weather, blaming the weather, right? The storms came in and blew that seed and destroyed the seed, right? It doesn't matter how many times you get disrupted, your plan gets disrupted, right? Your life gets disrupted. Doesn't matter how the blowing of the wind, the weather, the thorns, the birds, doesn't matter. All that stuff doesn't matter. But what matters is that you continue moving forward. At the moment when we stop working, right? He says the sower just keeps going, and he talks about how eventually, the sower, there's going to be a point where the sower, if he just keeps working, that he's going to have so much seed that it doesn't matter what happens. It doesn't matter all the disappointments, all of the setbacks, all of the obstacles that happen. If he puts his head down and he keeps working, he promises that eventually, he says, eventually, the moral of the story is if you keep working, your seed will fall on good ground. Right? Your seed would fall on good ground, and it will grow and it will flourish. But it's not always going to be the first time, right? It's not always going to be the first time, maybe not even the second time that you try your idea, or the third or the fourth, the 10th or the 20th, right? But if you're true to your purpose, it will eventually fall on good ground. And that was the moral of the story, is that the way that we face adversity is a true test of our character and is a true testament to our purpose. And it's not the blowing of the wind, but the set of the sail. Right? It's not the blowing of the wind, but the set of the sail that is going to prepare you to face these challenges in life. Right? And what I mean by that is another story that he talks about is, he uses an analogy. Imagine we're all on a sailboat. Right? Imagine we're all on a sailboat, right? And our goal is to get to our destination. right? Everyone has a destination of where they want to be, who they want to become, where they want to go, the house they want to live in, the cars, whatever it is that, whatever your goals are, that's our destination, right? Whether earthly, spiritually, emotionally, intelligently, intellectually, the destination is where we want to go. And it's not the blowing of the wind that's going to get us there, but the set of the sail. And what he means by that is the wind can blow from all different directions. The wind's going to blow us on us all. Adversity is going to happen to all of us. And it's going to hit us from directions that we may not even expect. But the set of the sail is an action word, right? And I think physically moving the sail, right? Reading the wind, knowing my destination, and then adjusting my sail, setting my sail, constantly setting my sail to point towards the directions, to continue moving forward to achieving my destination, to reaching my destination. And I think in life, it's the same way, right? Winds are going to blow on us all. It may be soft winds, it may be strong winds, it might be hurricanes, it might be tsunamis. Everyone experiences the different blowings of the wind of life. But it's that action that we take to continue to set our sail, right, based off of the blowing of that wind to get us to our destination. Okay, to get us to our destination. And I think that was really, really, really important, an important lesson for all of us to know, to learn, to understand, is that life happens. It's not the blowing of the wind that determines your destination, but the set of the sail. How do you prepare yourself to face some of life's obstacles? How are you prepared if something happened to you today? How will you face that? How will you respond? Right? It's not about what happens to you, but it's about how you react. It's about how you respond. And as Jim Rohn says, adversity is not something for us to learn, or for something is not something for us to avoid, but the key is not to avoid adversity, but recover quickly. Take the hit, boom. Feel the hit, boom, and then respond. Don't keep taking hits, feeling hits, then taking hits, then feeling hits, then taking more hits, then feeling hits. Soon, it's not going to take a big hit for you to just break. And that's the point that we don't want to get to. Because if we break, that's a whole different topic that we can definitely discuss. The key is not avoiding adversity, but recovering quickly. It's not the blowing of the wind that determines your destination, but the set of the sail. Preparing yourself to overcome it all is the key to overcoming it all. Preparation, right? When adversity meets preparation, then we can be successful. Knowing how to respond to the different challenges that come in that come in life. I want to share with you that I do know that these things are definitely principles that could help you navigate this life, help you know how to respond and react to things that happen to you in life. And I could honestly say that because I have been through it. I have experienced it. And the purpose of me creating this podcast is not for personal gain, but more to be a tool in God's hand to be able to help those in need without a reward. My fulfillment in this entire thing is to be able to share a message that will help you. Share a message from some of the challenges that I've gone through to help someone else navigate those same types of challenges. And I think that's what life is really about. I think the reason why Heavenly Father and God created this earth with people and commanded Adam and Eve to multiply and replenish was because he understood in order for us to really reach our full potential, we're going to have to learn from other people. We're going to have to learn how to coexist in order for us to really reach our full potential. This is something super special to me, and it's been a pleasure. And thank you guys all for listening. And I hope that there was something said today that would touch your hearts and that would help you make the change necessary that you need to reach your full potential. And thank you all for listening. This is the OP Podcast, and I am your host, Fono Vakalahi. Until next time.